Well, Baz, time to start the podcast, mate. We've had the little intros coming soon. Now we're down to the business end of it. Let's get started here, mate. So, welcome to our first podcast, by the way.
Thank you, mate.
Yes.
It's been a while, but we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
And we're happy.
Right, let's not dawdle, mate. Let's talk about the cricket. About a week and a half ago, you said this was one of the best test series you'd ever seen Australia v India.
Yeah.
Was it?
Absolutely.
Yep.
No problem at all. No. I mean, it went to the fifth test on last day, the whole thing. So not too many series do that, get to the fifth test and where it's still alive. And there's a lot of fire in the game. There was a lot of, it just had everything. The game, I had a guy ring me up and say, Baz, I hope you've taped all the series of the cricket because I missed 2 balls in Melbourne. I need to catch up on.
Wow.
In other words, he could not take himself away from the TV.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
And I was the same. And I'm not a great watcher, Phil.
No.
I mean, I'm an ex-player, all that sort of thing. But I've never been a great watcher. I might watch a half an hour, then I'll buzz off somewhere, come back watching it. But I could not seriously get myself off the lounge when the game was on. And I'll give you another example. My wife, Shelley, God bless her, who has never, ever said anything about the cricket ever in her life. It was on a regular basis came out of her room wherever she was and said, "Oh dear, they've lost another one, have they?" And so there's an interest there, which I couldn't believe. Yeah. So I thought the series was fantastic. It had a few issues.
Now you've touched on that, mate. Yeah. And the one that stands out the most from everyone we talked to after and when it happened, obviously because it was hot when it happens, but then even now people are still talking. How does a bloke bump into a player down the pitch, Coley, and get off?
Well, and he did get off.
So the rules. What's the rule?
What the rule is, if you make contact with a player deliberately, which he did, he walked off the line.
Oh, no question.
No problem at all, to make contact with Constance. So he's made contact. Now, the rule is, if you make contact with a player, it's virtually an instant suspension. So it's a level 2. Level 2. Suspense. It's a level 2 offence.
So level 2 is automatic?
Level 2 is a suspension and a loss of up from 50% to 100% of your match payment. Wow. Not that that's going to affect him. Yep. But anyway, the key one is a suspension. Now, they downgraded this charge to a level 1, which gives you a demerit point leading up to a suspension. If you get a certain amount of demerit points, you get suspended, and 20% loss of his match fee.
How could you downgrade it?
How do you downgrade it?
Right there. There was no question he veered straight off.
Of course he did.
And
of course he did.
Bumped him.
Yeah. Now the joke going, well, to me, I thought, well, you're gone. As soon as I saw her, I thought, mate, you're in trouble here. Yeah. Even though he tried to make it look like Constance bumped into him, which I thought was a pretty low act from Coley anyway.
Senior guy to a junior.
Well, that's right. But the joke going around is that Australia actually downgraded it.
Australia downgraded.
Yeah, we want him in the team because he couldn't make a run.
Well, we may be smarter than we look.
Well, that's right. But I think that was a disgrace. And I think that it just goes to show you who runs cricket. And it's certainly not me or you. Because he should have gone for that. He should have been suspended for a match, quite clearly. Bang. No, end of story. Now, nobody makes a big deal of it. Because India.
Well,
and it annoys me, mate.
Yeah, well, rules for some and not rules for
others. That annoyed me.
Rule just came out, well, not a rule, but they're discussing it today as we're speaking. It came out last night. India are now looking at why they lost to Australia, what caused the damage. Yeah. They're starting to lay the blame at wives, girlfriends, families on the road. So they're saying that they won't be able to travel with them anymore. They'll be able to come in from time to time because it's an arduous being away for 2-3 months, but no more wives, girlfriends, kids on tour. Now your time with cricket, didn't have them, then had them, then didn't have them. Yeah. How do you
all over the place.
Does it make any difference?
Well, personally, I don't want them there because to me, it's a distraction. And in a game of cricket, if you're a top order batsman, Phil, the last thing you need is a distraction because it's such a hard game. Like if you make one error in cricket as a top order player, and you're sitting in the grandstand for 4 days or 3 days. There's no second chance. You don't need the distraction. Some people say, look, it's great to have them there as support at the end of the day. Go home, give them a lovely cuddle and all that. No. Go home, give them a ring. Hey, how you going? Oh, not bad. How'd you go today? You don't need them. I don't need them there. Now, other people might disagree with that, but I just don't think that you need that distraction as a player. I don't think you need it.
Yeah, I think there's a balance in all of it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing your cricket, when you start, you don't travel with your partner. You don't.
That's
and
right.
Of course, you get to go home. You know, 3 or 4 days you get to go home. A week you get to go home.
Yeah.
These ones we're talking about months, but there's normally a period where there's a break in between the games.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, well, bring them in for the breaks. Get them in there.
Yeah.
Spend some time.
Couple of days.
And get
no
them
problem.
out because again, what you talked about is distractions.
Yeah.
So, and we're good with continuity. Players love continuity. We're safe within what we have habits forming, and suddenly we're doing things differently, and it's So
it's a distraction, Phil.
So I can see where they're going.
Don't need it.
Mate, bit of bad news Sunday night.
Before we go on that, mate. Before we go.
Last one.
Well, I've got to crack. I've got to have a crack.
So we don't want to look like we're just cracking on the Indians.
No.
I wanted this before.
Well, I was unhappy with Sam Constance. He was involved with the Coley bump and all that sort of thing, and he got the Indians. He got under their skin a little bit.
60
which
in the
I
first
thought
D.
he got 60, but anybody who watched that game as a player, as a cricketer, would know that he could have been out in the first over quite easily, 3 or 4 times. He played and missed at Bumrah 3 or 4 times, and then decided to have a slog. Got 60, played some ramps and all this other stuff, which is okay. And people thought, oh, well, that's terrific. Oh, what a refreshing way to go. No, it's not. If I'm number 3, mate, he slogged for 60, then got out.
Oh, okay, all right.
Now, if I'm number 3, sitting up in the dressing room up there, I'd be going, mate, what are you doing? How about you just play cricket? The thing that got me about him was, it's okay to be doing all this with the crowd behind him and all that sort of stuff, leaning over the fence, signing an autograph while the over's still going. It happens all the time, that's okay. But don't look at the big screen. Stop looking at the big screen, son, and get on with your batting. Now, he's made a 60, and then he's missed out.
Right.
So, for me, the jury is still out on him. The media, for some reason, have climbed all over him and love him and whatever, but he hasn't done anything yet. Yeah. And until you do something, Phil, don't gob off.
Okay, so he's still a young kid, he's still learning.
He's
so
a kid.
He needs to be given some guidance into that.
And I'm still not happy with I'm still not convinced with his technique yet.
Right.
So look, the jury's still out.
He hasn't done enough for
He's in there. No, he hasn't done enough. But Phil, he hasn't done enough to do what he's doing on the ground.
Right.
Like, gobbing off. That day that he was fielding in at short leg was the only day that I felt like turning the TV off because he was so annoying. He kept on yap, and the cameras kept going to him. I kept saying, get off him, leave the kid alone. But no, because he's doing, terrific. Well, to me, he drove me up the wall. And, mate, don't start gobbing off until you do something, to me. Play the game. If you're good enough, you'll succeed. You've got to have some
credits. You've
got to have something in the bank.
Yep.
And he hasn't got anything in the bank. I don't care about his little 60 he made. That's, to me, it was an innings that was just all over the place.
You want to see
it didn't look like
don't you? That's what
right. That's what we need.
That's what makes
and he was up against Bumrah, who is, arguably the best chucker in the world.
The best
chucker. Bowler, I mean. Bowler. Oh, sorry.
Mate, you've
teed off. You've
gone off, haven't you? Now, mate, KG's waiting. We've got to get to KG.
We do.
You know we do. But Sunday night we get some bad news, mate. It's always bad when it's a former teammate and a friend. He passed away Sunday night. We talk about Daryl Pearce, and we should just have a little chat about the bloke, Daryl, and his career.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about 374 games in the NBL, one of the greatest three-point shooters, without question, and his technique, even today, is superb. So if you're teaching a young kid, he's one of the players you look at and go, this action here is as good as it can be.
Yeah.
But he was probably the first player that got the young kids into shooting the three-point line when it came in 1983.
Okay, yeah.
And everyone went, wow, and he was such a big name here in Adelaide because
was he ever?
Well, we didn't have the Crows, didn't have power, so the Sixers were the big ticket item for about 4 or 5 years. So and he was a massive part of that.
Yeah.
But that was Daryl the player. And unbelievably consistent. You see players today that will go and the NBL build them up that I hit 7 for 10 out of this game was magnificent. Then we don't see him for another 3 or 4 weeks, and then he does it again.
Yeah.
And there's been some exceptional ones, Bryce Cotton and other players that have been. Chris Goulding have been fantastic, but Daryl was like that every game.
Yeah,
every game. So his career, 42% from the 3-point line, is phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
And so 2 championships to his name as well.
Yeah.
But the people that knew him always saw him as a happy guy, easy to get on with, and he was all of that. But an unbelievable comedian.
Yeah.
Loved impersonations, loved taking the mickey out of people, and did it respectfully.
Yeah.
His time as an Olympian, the World Cup, when you're under what you talked about before, you're away for a long time, a lot of pressure to succeed.
Yeah.
Sometimes that gets wearing. You need a guy that's got a sense of humour.
Yes, you do.
And Daryl could bring that.
Yeah.
And there were times when you could feel the pressure building, he'd bring his humour to it, and it would make the team better for it.
Yeah.
And people don't get to see that, so it's just worth saying there are a lot of other strings to Daryl's ways. He'll be sadly missed.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
obviously, our condolences to everyone that was close to him, teammates, family, friends, all of that. But we should remember him, A, as he was a great player.
Yeah.
B, or A, he was a great bloke.
And a great team
and
man.
C, great team man.
Yeah.
Normally shooters are the guys that are a bit selfish.
Yeah.
And Daryl was one of those guys that could accept his role in the Australian team, going from, you know, superstar player in Adelaide to limited time with the Australian team.
Yeah.
Not once did he ever complain.
Yeah.
Always patting guys on the back. He's the ultimate team man that way. So I think we'd.
Well, I only
love to
heard
remember him
one quick stat before we get on the cage, that he got to 400 3-pointers. 100 games before. Was it
Chris Goulding?
Chris Goulding. Who was a gun shooter.
He is
and
a gun,
whatever.
mate.
But he got there 100 games quicker
For him.
at 400 3-pointers. That is an incredible stat. How many did you shoot?
I couldn't tell you.
Were you up there? Were you up there 400
no, I didn't,
3-pointers?
I could. I would have over the course
Easy,
of the
wouldn't
career.
you?
Yeah, I probably took 300 more games than Daryl. So,
Well, we won't go into that.
we won't go into it. Hey, mate, it's time to get to one of
It
the
is.
absolute legends
And he is.
of Australian sport. A, Australian cricketer.
Yeah.
B, still in the media at
Yeah.
86 years of age.
Incredible.
It's phenomenal. We're
He
talking
is.
about the great K.G. Cunningham. Welcome back to the Sporting Spotlight, of course, one of the greats, Baz, one of my favourites. And this man had the capacity when I was a young fella to make me feel really good when I hadn't yet accomplished anything. We talk about the great KG.
I better go. Are you not
We're talking to you, Cage. Cage, how are you, mate?
Look, I'm fantastic, Phil. I'm old. I'm 85 now. The body's not what it used to be, but I'm getting from point A to point B ever so slowly. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey.
Mate, I want to do the big intro for you, and you go, no, mate, it's not about me. So let's not make it. We'll make it about Bazz in a minute.
Please, yeah. I can tell a few stories about you, mate.
I'm looking forward to those. But I want to start at the beginning because it's always, and then we can get to the end, mate, and quickly through the beginning. But left school at 12 years old, and then 5 decades in the media, mate. I know that's a big jump, but why would you leave school at 12?
Well, I had. I'll tell the story. It is an amazing one. That I was 12 years of age, and I was about to go to Goody Tech. I'd gone to Ascot Park Primary School where things were fantastic. That's the only school I loved. Went to Goody Tech for about 3 months, and I had this, believe it or not, speech impediment where I used to stutter. But when I did it at Goody Tech, the elder kids there used to take the mickey out of me. You know, walk behind me going, doing all that.
Really?
And it got to a stage where I went home to Mum and said, Mum, that's it. I've had enough. I can't handle this anymore. I'm not going to school. And she said, boy, she used to call me boy. Boy, you got to go to school. I said, Mum, I'm not going to school. Told her why. And she said, look, come with me to see my doctor. His name was George Solomon, a mad North Adelaide man. He had his surgery in Victoria Square because we lived in Market Street. I was born in the West End. She took me to Dr. Solomon and he said to Mum, I can remember him saying it. He said, Mrs. Cunningham, young Ken's got a problem. He's on the verge of a breakdown. Now, I didn't have a clue what a breakdown meant and what it was. He said, with your permission, can I consult with the education department and have a chat about it? He said, I'll come back to you in a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks' time, get a call to go into the surgery. Walks in and he said, Mrs. Cunningham, with your blessing, I've had communication with the education department and they've agreed to give young Ken an exemption from going to school.
Why didn't you let me know about that?
I can think of a few people that would like
and I said, Mum, what's an exemption? And she said, boy, you don't have to go to school anymore. I said, you little beauty. So that was the end of my schooling. I was complete and utter mess.
Dr. Solomon, is he a local from Colonel Gardens?
That's him. Yeah.
My family doctor.
Well, there you go. See? We all have good taste,
He
Baz.
obviously didn't like you and he liked Cage.
I in school.
So at 12 12 years old,
12
you
years
get an
of age.
exemption not to go to school.
And that was it.
Then what happens?
I stayed home with Mum.
For how long?
Until about I was 16, 17.
Wow.
And did what, Coach?
I did nothing. I just stayed home with Mum and did what I had to do. Hit the ball against the side of the house playing tennis, and then I got a job as an apprentice tailor at Frederick Walsh and Son.
Frederick Walsh and Son.
Their building was on the corner of King William Street and Hindley Street. I was at the Beehive corner.
Okay.
I went there for 3 years until I said, "Oh, but no, this is not me."
Not you.
Doing the felling and the ironing, and not me. And left from there. Yeah. But at 12, my one love was cricket. Yeah. And I can remember Dad saying to me, "Son, what do you want to do cricket-wise?" And I just come back from the Sapsaza tour to Sydney with the schoolboys. And he said, "Look, we'll go and speak to the Glenelg Cricket Club. You're in the area to play with Glenelg." Anyway, lo and behold, a week later, there's a knock on the front door. And there's a little dapper man there with a white moustache, dressed beautifully. He said, "You must be Ken." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "My name is Cecil Starr. I'm the president of the Adelaide Cricket Club. Is Mum and Dad home?" And I said, "Yes, we're in the kitchen." I said, "I'll get Dad for you." Got Dad, invited him in, and he told Dad who he was and so forth. He said, "Look, we'd like to give young Ken an opportunity and an invitation to come and play for the Adelaide Cricket Club." And Dad said, "Well, look, he's aligned to Glenelg because of the district." And Mr. Starr said, "Well, look, if that's your main worry, I can fix that." He said, "Just sign a form." And, Clary Grimmitch, our coach, Adelaide Oval, number 2 ground, I signed the form. After he'd left, I was reading it with Dad, and I said, "Dad, Mr. Starr's made a mistake here. Our address is 18 Coonji Avenue, Ackland Gardens. He's got our address as Weymouth Street in the city." The address he used was Jackie Winter, who was then the secretary. He had a delicatessen in the Weymouth Street. So I went and played for Adelaide Cricket Club.
Mate, did you know you were ahead of your time? I mean, at 12 years old, you've already created the gap year, a school that went for 4 years, which is just coming in now with a lot of students, mate. So 60 years later, 12 years old, 16 you started to play cricket.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it was that throwing that 4 years, mate, where you're just throwing the ball against the wall, hitting with the cricket bat, suddenly your skills started to hone in? Because I know you wanted to be a bowler first, mate, and then got the batting.
I couldn't bowl loop downhill.
Well, they used to call him Bilo. I used to call him Bilo.
Bilo?
Yeah, help yourself.
As the bowler? Yeah. So you got into batting. You worked it out.
Phil, there was never a dull moment playing with you, mate. He was always getting himself into trouble and doing what he shouldn't have done. And the worst part about it, he could play. But he didn't drink Coca-Cola in those days.
No.
Didn't drink water either.
I didn't want to say that.
But he thought he could walk on it.
It was great times. They were great times playing back then. It was an outstanding time. But 97 first-class games you played, Cage.
Yep.
And I know you undersell yourself as a player.
No, I don't. I'm honest.
You're a fantastic player.
No, I wasn't.
Well, you were, mate. No. Because did you not play with the Australian second 11?
I did, but
Sorry, he got a baggy green then, has he?
He's got a...
So he's an average player with a baggy green.
I buried that with my late dad, actually.
Yes?
Yeah. There you go. But no, you're a terrific player. But you were the worst player to bat behind.
Oh, why?
Well, you know why. You know very well why.
No idea.
KG would sit in the box, and they'd be out there bowling, and he'd have the pads on ready to go. And when you're sitting sideline at Adelaide Oval, you can see how quick they are. Because they were back then. Everybody had them, didn't they? They were just quick as whatever.
At you.
But he would sit there. And go, "Oh, look at that! Oh, how am I going to face that? Oh, look at that one! Oh, look how fast he is! How am I going to face that?" And I kept saying, "Cage, shut up, mate! I'm in next."
I was just warming you up, Barry.
Just helping him relax for you, mate.
That's how he was. But I also played in KG's last Shield game for South Australia on the Adelaide Oval against New South Wales, and. He was in there hitting the ball. I was batting at the other end, hitting the ball beautifully, like he does, left-hander. He had all that timing, KG. And he was just batting beautifully. He's got one there that he just Bang to the gully area.
Off Collie, it was.
Off of David Collie.
David Collie.
Who was sharp as well. And he got out, caught Kerry O'Keefe, in the gully. Now, I was at the other end, and I looked at that, and I go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't think that carried. But I said that, and I'm batting at the other end. KG definitely
I said to Skull, Skull, that didn't carry. He said, "Well, I don't know." And the umpire at the strikers, non-strikers end said, "I don't know."
He said he didn't know because I said to him, "Well, I do."
Yeah,
and that didn't carry. But I had nothing. I can't give him out or not out. But I was shocked and stunned by the fact that Skull said in the end.
Righto.
Yeah, sorry.
No, we'll continue with Skull. Yeah.
Skull. Yeah.
And then the umpire at the bowler's end said to Max O'Connell, who was the square leg umpire, "Did that carry?" And Max put up his fingers and said, "Yes, it did."
Yeah.
And I walked past Max and I can't repeat what I said to him.
Yeah.
But never mind. That was it. Good night, Dick.
That was your last game?
Last game.
How old were you then, Coach?
I was 30 odd, I reckon.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah.
30 odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember feeling that it was a surprise that it was your last game to me.
Yeah,
when I was playing there, I thought, okay, why is KG not playing?
I just walked into the room that morning and said, I felt that, I'm not going to enjoy this.
It's funny, isn't it?
I've run the race, so I've been lucky. But look, Barry, I was so lucky. I can recall Smythe being lucky enough to play with some of the greatest players that have played cricket in this country. Yeah. Like when you talk to the Chappell brothers for a start, Nodder Danzy, Ian McLaughlin, Les Favell, Rexy Sellers, I can go on and on and on and naming them. And Neil Hawke, they just carried me along.
Gary Sobers, Barry Richards,
Barry Curtin,
they just roll off.
You were going pretty well for me, Coach. I was intrigued by some of the names you were rattling out there, mate.
I'm trying to get the good
Barry
ones.
Richards kind of took a bit of a plunge there, mate. So
I batted with him in Perth one day, mate. He was an unbelievable guy to bat with. It was a good runner between wickets. He was actually very good to bat with. But Cage was extremely nervous before he went out there, like a lot of players are, I suspect. I don't know what. But when he got out there, he was fine. But he was a yapper.
A yapper.
A bit of a yapper, And anybody who tells me what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing when I've got a bat in my hand.
Well, no, that's not the true story. It was playing at the Wacker ground. We were in trouble. We were about 4 or 5 down. And Favelli said to us, "Now look," to Barry and me, we're going out after lunch, "just keep the scoreboard ticking over. Don't do anything stupid. Don't try and hit the cover off the ball. Just pick the gaps in the field. No worries, Skip, fine. Bingo, 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 no worries." Out there for an over 2, beautiful, going smoothly. On comes Tony Locke, one of the greatest left-arm spinners in the game. Tony Locke, who's facing? Your mate, Barry Curtin.
Baz.
He's placed one ball with a straight bat, painted back. I thought this is working beautifully.
One's enough.
And then suddenly, charge of the line again, bang! Straight back over the scoreboard for 6. I walked down the wing and said, "Barry, that's not what we're supposed to do." Remember what Favelli said? Pick the gaps in the field. 3 balls later, got a top edge out, walks past me and said, "Gee, bloody good player out of luck." and I said, "Good luck when you get back into the room, Favelli." That's a true story.
Retired at around 30. You're 85 now. It's good that you've let that one go, mate, where you weren't out. 55 years later. Hey, mate, you mentioned it before. You play with some great cricketers. And we'll come to your footy umpiring stuff in a minute.
Right.
But Ian Chappell for me was, and you and I have spoken about Chappelli over time.
I loved him.
And I remember Chappelli's telling me this story about KG, which is confirming what you said. He said, my time captaining KG, he'd come to me before play and go, oh, I don't know, Chappelli, I'm nervous about this. I haven't been batting well all week in the nets, mate. I'm not going too good. He said, this went on every time you played. Chappelli would go, you'll be fine, Cage. You're batting really well. You're training great, mate. You go out and you'd hit 100. No. Yeah. He said he got to the point, it must have been months in, where you came in and you said, not batting very well, I'm going to play shock. And Chappelli just said, yeah, you're going to. He said, you went out and got 200.
True story.
So was that just your method of getting your way into the game?
My mentality. I was different.
But you know, in saying that, that was all in the rooms. That was all there and in the nets and all that. But once you walked through that gate and got onto the ground, you were fine.
Oh, but I wasn't that good, Bazz.
Well, I batted with you for a lot of times, and you were, to me,
what's
you
the difference,
in
mate?
control.
So what's the difference? Nervous before, then through the gate, and you made the others around you. Obviously, you've made Bazz feel comfortable coming out.
Once I got out there, I was fine, but just sitting back watching and knowing that I was next in or whatever, that really got to me.
Oh yeah, and got to me.
Once I got out there, I was a bit better. I wasn't the change.
I wouldn't sit anywhere near you when we were
neither would Neil Dancy.
Because he was.
Well, I'm not sitting next to you.
We used to sit behind him and go, Cage, look at Cage. God, look how far he's spinning them. God, how am I going to play that? Because I made it get out there and do it.
I made him feel comfortable and confident.
Yeah, I can see that working with your teammates. I'll go out and look good. You're going to be shocking, so I'll look a lot better.
The one thing that you're an absolute gentleman. You always have been.
No.
But you were a great yapper on the ground, Cage. You were one of the best. Whoa, here we go. You know, I remember you one day at Adelaide Oval with Steamer Wilson and you, and here we go.
Yeah.
Because he bowled one short to me, you went off your rocker. You had him. I remember that so well. Because the argument was going on while I was still just standing there waiting for him to bowl. And they were up there just going at each other. What did I tell you? I told you. And the Cage was a...
I know, I was
You were
bad.
a good yapper. No, you weren't.
No.
That was the way the game was played.
I put up my hand. That's when days when a lot of players yap, but
Everybody yapped.
I was probably the worst.
Oh,
I said some things out. Oh yeah, I said some things out there to Bobby Blewett. Oh God.
But who didn't to Bobby Blewett?
Well, exactly.
Sorry, Bob.
Sorry, Bob. Oh yeah, I was a bad japper. Yeah.
Is that a thing with cricketers though? The nice blokes, they got like yourself, Rob Zaddo. Wouldn't meet a nicer fella than Rob Zaddo, but he was a great yakker. He was a great yakker. So what is it? The blokes that were nice blokes off the ground were pretty good at yakking on.
He walked past me one day and he said, I thought you could play. I've got to change my mind about you.
It's different though, wasn't it? Back then there was a bit of wit to it, whereas now it's a bit more personal.
Correct.
Well, and they're trying to change it now. Is that the sad part about the yapping on the ground?
To me,
it seemed like a beer afterwards with you guys. It could be a beer in the rooms
that's
after.
what we used to do.
Now it's nearly personal.
On the ground, have a beer after in the rooms.
And the other team would come into your rooms. If you're in the field during the day, then the other team would come in your room, bring their beers into your room.
Correct.
And if they were in the field the next day,
correct.
then that night you go in their rooms and bring your beers in there. So no matter what happened on the ground, it was just not even spoken of after the game, was it?
And
it was
that was probably the best part of the day, Barry.
Well, it's the only reason I played, for the beer and the
cigarettes
and the party. Yeah. Well, yeah, we were sponsored by
He did a good job of the two, I can tell you, particularly the beer. Smithy. But are you still drinking Coke?
Yeah, no, Pepsi Max. I'm a Pepsi Max man now.
He's gone from beer to Coke to Pepsi Max.
Yeah, it's
left
getting
you
bad
running.
now, okay?
Oh, you're out of control.
I'll be on the water soon.
You've left you run a bit late.
I don't think you'll be ever on the water, Bazz.
I've got to give you this one because we're talking about the on-the-ground stuff and whatever. When you first come into first-class cricket, you don't really cop a lot of it in club cricket. I wasn't copping anything in club cricket. But then I get picked and I'm playing against Queensland. I came out to bat after they got a wicket, and Sam Trimble was captain of Queensland, and there was a huddle around just where I'm taking guard. And they're all, because they're excited, they just got a wicket. And I'm taking guard, and Sam Trimble turned around and looked at me, looked behind me at the scoreboard, and said, and looked up and he went, Curtin. Anybody heard of this bloke? Now, I've never been selected before. And I'm just looking at him, and he turned to his team and said, anybody heard of this bloke, Curtin? And they all went, nah, never heard of him, Harry. And he turned around and he goes, are you at the right ground, son? And I thought, what have I done? What have I done? But when I told Ian about that, he said to me, Baz, let me tell you that Sam Trimble is the tamest of them all. You are going to cop it, mate, wherever you... I suggest you get a haircut. That's what he said to me. Because I had the long blonde hair. Get a haircut. Be prepared, because you're going to cop it wherever you go. But it was like a war cage out there, wasn't it?
It was, but you could always see the funny side of it.
Exactly right. Yeah, that was a great line.
And you used to try and laugh about it. Yeah. Wonderful days.
Yeah, and of course Chappelli.
He joined in the chorus.
Well, he was the best at it. He was
most intimidating.
Oh, gee whiz, mate. You know,
Still is today.
Still is today. Yeah. Still a man who I respect unbelievably as a captain and a bloke, and along with KG, because when I first came in, it was KG and Chappelli and Rowdy and
TJ.
It was a really good cricket team to play in.
It was fun, Barry.
It was fun.
Look, we always wanted to win, but we had fun in doing so.
Yeah.
Well, I was lucky enough to be a part of 3 winning Sheffield Shield sides.
Right.
And,
exactly
when you think about that, we haven't won one now since 95, 96. So how lucky were you and I?
Yeah, well...
Blessed.
Tremendously lucky. But cricket's not only your... you're a field umpire, or you've done...
Not a very good one, but we have been...
Okay. Now, there it goes again. I'd say you were the best one. How's that?
No, well...
In my time, you were the best field umpire going around.
I can't believe Port Adelaide never liked me, Port Adelaide.
Well,
never liked me. And I'm sitting doing this in the Alberton Hotel.
Yes.
You know what used to happen?
Yeah.
When
you wouldn't have come here after a game.
That's exactly right, Phil. That's the last place you'd go. But they used to come in with a kit bag, the room steward, and he'd leave it. He said, "Look, that's for the drinks after the game. After the game. Yeah. Thank you very much." And you'd have an esky there, or ice, and what have you. Go out there and umpire the game. Port would get knocked off. You'd come in after the game and look for a drink. Where's the kit bag? Where's the esky gone? They would come in and take the bloody esky away, and they wouldn't buy you a drink.
What's wrong with that?
The amount of times they did that was unbelievable.
I was only thinking last night. We got some footage of KG, but it's in black and white, which is his favourite colour.
I beg your pardon.
I'll never forget the day at Alberton with the year Port Adelaide did the 1990 bid, and the bid was only about, well, they'd only announced it I think the week before, and they were playing Westies.
Yeah,
Westies. At Alberton, and we were there. Double A was there, and you were up there.
All week, the phones went ballistic about Port, being treacherous and leaving the sand full and so forth. I remember walking, and I was calling the game with Brian Cunningham, a famous Port man. Yeah. Walked into the Alberton Oval to call the game, and those days we had to call from in the middle of the grandstand.
Yes,
I remember going onto the terrace, and I thought, this is not going to be a good day. This is not going to be a good day at all. They looked at me, and I thought, here we go. Yeah. Went up into the grandstand, and they played Westies, my side. Yeah. And every time Port kicked a goal, the people on the terrace would turn, look up in the grandstand, and give me the bird.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there...
and they kicked about 27 of them that day as well.
They smashed us. And I was sitting there calling the games, I said, and at half time, there was a lady sitting in front of me, and she said, Ken, I'm terribly sorry about what they're saying to you. Would you like a cup of coffee and a piece of cake? I said, oh, look, I'd love a cup of coffee, thank you. She poured the cup of coffee for me, and she said, look, enjoy that, but I do apologise. She said, by the way, I'm, what she said her name was? Phillips, Mrs. Phillips. I'm Greg Phillips's mum.
Yeah, what a lovely lady
and she was. A beautiful lady.
Absolutely, yeah.
She gave me a cup of coffee and a piece of cake.
Did you drink the coffee?
I did.
Were you all right afterwards?
No, I was loaded. Once she said Mrs. Phillips, I drank the coffee. Yeah. But I remember I used to leave 10 minutes before the game ended to get back and do KG's Fully Show. And I remember I was calling with Bucky and Pat Hall. Yeah. And they both said to me, now be careful, go down the terrace. I said, oh, God. Yeah. I went down onto the terrace, bumped, pushed. Yeah. I thought someone's going to labouring on me
And
here.
it was packed as well, wasn't
Packed,
it?
packed.
The ground was packed.
And the
hill
crowd
was packed.
went ballistic on the terraces, and it echoed to the people in the stand.
Yes, it did.
And they got up and gave me hell as well.
I remember it well. I was sitting up in that stand. I remember it well.
A good friend of mine from Port Adelaide, Tom Harrier.
Tommy Harry, yeah.
Tommy Harry followed me out of the ground and said, KG, are you all right?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm fine, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
It was amazing, wasn't it? It was.
I thought I was dead in the water.
Well, it was very close, wasn't it? I mean, the crowd was so big that day that in front of the old grandstand at Alberton, you couldn't move.
No.
And Cage has got to come down from the stand.
Then onto the terrace. Then turn left out to the gate.
And walk throughout the gate. And there was the anger. That was the thing, wasn't it? It was the
amazing.
anger. Port felt that they unnecessarily copped a lot of whatever.
Well, it would be hard to believe because Cage was never parochial his whole time as a compere of the 5AA sports.
And I said to myself, why are they doing this? I love Port Adelaide. Why are they doing this?
Yeah. Hardly ever spoke about the Crows when they got in. I can't understand where the anger came from. And that has been one of your great gifts along 5 decades, mate. You're clearly the master of surviving in the media because we know it's a... But you were early days great at the build-up. It was a bit like Ted Whitten and Neil Curley, the great rivalries between South Australia. And it's been one of the things you've been the master at being able to work that so well. Was it something that just came naturally to you?
Well, it was because Teddy Whitten was one of those characters, Phil, that he was up front, he was in your face and what have you. And the rivalry between Victoria and South Australia was enormous when they used to play those interstate games.
Yeah.
And I can remember because Teddy did a bit with me every Wednesday night on 5DN. We had a bet on air that whoever lost had to wear the jumper and
that's right.
carry down Rundle Mall.
Yeah.
Oh God, he stopped the traffic.
Yeah.
This particular occasion, stopped the traffic. Unbelievable.
Amazing man.
But that was a part of the scene then.
Yeah. But you had the callers at one stage, mate, where they ring up, I'll never speak to you again, KG, I'll never listen to this show. And then next week they'd be on, or a week later they'd recite what had been on the show. So it wasn't like they turned it off. But you were able to get the emotion out of people. And you've been really good at that your whole life. And you're an emotive person yourself.
Oh, I cried at a drop of a hat. I'm the biggest crier. I'm terrible. I say to myself, now, don't cry, you wanker. Pull yourself together. We talk for 5 minutes and I'm crying.
4 grand finals, mate. You umpired 4. It should have been 5, but we won't go there. We'll leave that one alone at the moment. But did you have one that you enjoyed the most of the 4?
Without a doubt. There were 2 dead heats. 64 when South beat Port Adelaide. Yeah. That was because South the year previously in 63 under Bill Southern had finished bottom.
Yep.
Curls left West Adelaide. They wouldn't clear to go to South Adelaide as captain coach. Westie wouldn't clear him for the first 5 weeks. He got the job, and the transformation in the side from 63 to 64 was quite remarkable.
It was actually,
absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
And that grand final and Curls till he passed away used to always say the footy god smiled on me that day. A fellow worker. Port Adelaide kicked 0-10 at half time. Yeah. That was a great grand final.
Now, there was a bit of a lead into that grand final. Were you knocked out accidentally?
Well,
by the fellow that we're just chatting about. Can you take us through that?
Accidentally.
I've heard his story.
Well, I umpired the prelim final, South Sturt. Port had won their way into the 64 grand final. And I remember it was a horrible day, wet. I'm having a shocking day. Every time I blew the whistle, I wished I could have swallowed it. And make matters worse, there was Curls, as captain of South Adelaide, running behind me, trying to umpire the game. And I said to him at half time, Curls, enough is enough. Yeah. You concentrate on what you've got to do. Let me do the umpiring. He said, you're not doing too bloody well, let me tell you. I said, well, let me worry about that. He come back after half time and I've thrown the ball up, it's raining. And Soapy Cantier's got the tap to Ian Day, and I remember vividly, he's kicked a mongrel punt kick down towards the southern end, and I'm out of position. I put the head down, bum up, and made a beeline for the where there's about 10 or 12 players vying for possession, and suddenly, bang, down I've gone. Next thing I know, I'm being helped off the ground by 2 trainers to take no further part in the game. You look at the history books, and Mark Poser replaced me. Anyway, South get up. South and win their way into the first grand final in about 30 odd years. Yeah. I had to pass a fitness test on the Wednesday. Passed that, come the grand final, I've got it. Yeah. Port come out, led by Johnny Cale, do their sprigs, and said to Jack, good luck today, Jack. He said, thanks very much, KG. Doing South Adelaide, and there's girls up and down the line, demanding this. Not a good look. His was the last set of hands and boots I would do. I've done right one, left one, stood up, and I said to Curls, Neil, good luck today, as I said to Johnny Cale. And Curls has taken, and this is true as I sit here, he's taken one step towards me, and from about 3 inches from my face said, Ken, don't worry about this good luck so-and-so. I'll tell you something. If you don't give us a go today, I won't knock you out in the third quarter. I'll knock you out in the so-and-so first quarter. And trotted off. South Adelaide won their first premiership in 30 odd years. Haven't won one since, Barry, and to this day he never said thanks, KG.
And KG didn't get knocked out.
That's as true as I said. Imagine that happening today.
They'd be all over the place.
I'll tell you something.
How would you go today, KG? You're looking at the umpiring or the game as it is today.
Well, if I could run, and if I couldn't umpire better than those AFL umpires, the way they've been told to umpire, I'd go nuts. Yeah. Like this stand rule, the 50-metre penalty. Give me a break.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't say stand to a player. We used to say, we were told in those days, if Neil Curley was on the mark, or Graham Corns was on the mark, or Phil Smyth was on the mark, you'd say, Phil, that's the mark, pal, that's the mark. Not stand like a copper on the corner or a school teacher. Yeah. You've got to win their confidence and be a part of it. Yeah. It's cold.
That's a very good point. Win their confidence and be a part of it.
Well, you do.
You do.
You're out there doing a job as they are.
That's right. And
that's right. It's over umpired with 4 umpires, and mate, I'd love to be able to do it. No, I can't obviously, but I'd love to be able to do it now.
Only took 3 more to replace him. There's only
I didn't want to say that.
I'll help you out, mate. I'll keep you humble. You know, when you talked about that, though, forming a relationship with the players, there was a really good story, and he's the bloke you've worked with for a long time on AA. Still there on Saturdays, which is unbelievable. Cornsey tells the story. He comes down from Whyalla and is sure that nobody knows him, because he's come down from Whyalla. He's playing with Glenelg. He's in his second game for Glenelg, and you're umpiring. Yep. He said he clearly remembers KG saying, "Okay, Graham, this is great, Cornsey. This is." He was just blown away by the fact that you knew his name. He said you knew everybody's name. One of the great things about, and the hardest thing about commentating is getting the players and names. That's something you've been able to do.
Well,
really, was it something you practiced or made a point of?
It was, Smithy. I used to, if I knew which game I was going to, I would try and remember not just the surname, but the Christian name, and I always use that. If I was saying to stand on the mug, I'd say, Jim, that's the mark there, Jim, or whatever, and going for the ruck contest. Eyes on ball, fellas, and so forth. And I said that to Cornsey at Unley Oval. And
just makes it personal, though, doesn't it?
Well,
we don't see that so much now.
That's the relationship that I think an umpire and players need to have. Yeah. You've got to respect them. They got to respect you. And you'll have your good days and your bad days. Yeah. But it's too cold now.
Why did you always have your bad day against Port?
That's an amazing thing because it just happened naturally. When I saw the black and white colours or the magpie, something went through my mind, and it wasn't pleasant. Or they didn't like me, and I remember going down the race after the game when they got beat. Right on the top of the head, it used to hit.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that one. I didn't know it was you.
Mate, one of the great friendships that formed over the journey for you, and Sally, God love her, who's not with us, Sandra, who's not with us anymore, mate, was blossomed at a Port Adelaide game with a young lady, Kale. Can you tell us that story?
It was, and in fact, it was after the '64 grand final. I walked down the steps. Sam was there. We're about to get married. And I walked down the steps and Sam was there and went underneath the stands to go out to the car park. And we walked past the club rooms. the Port Adelaide club rooms, and there was a lady there that was standing by the door. Said, "Yeah, you're all right now, Cunningham, aren't you? Now you can walk. You couldn't walk for 4 bloody quarters, but you can walk now, Cunningham, can't you?" And Sally said, Sandra said to me, "Who's that lady?" I said, "It's Liz Cale."
Yeah, Liz.
She gave me a huge spray. We were good mates after that.
So one of the ways to become Cage's friend is abuse each other. He actually loves the Port Adelaide people.
You're all right now, Cunningham, aren't you? You're going for 4 quarters.
You would have copped plenty, though, Cage.
Oh, mate, but they were great days.
Yeah, you copped plenty.
Personalities. You know.
And there's lots of them, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah. Like Yogi Bear, Steve Traynor. 65 grand final.
Yeah.
Port Sturt.
Big game.
Emmy Jones kicked 5 goals in the last quarter.
Yeah.
And they were within 3 points. I'll never forget this. And Darryl Hicks and Brett Natcock both had shots on goal.
Yes, they
hit the front.
Yeah.
And Yogi Bear ran past me and said, "Yeah, Yogi Bear."
Yeah.
He said, "KG, I always thought you were a so-and-so cheat. Today just proves beyond doubt that you are a so-and-so cheat." And I said, "Steve, yeah, and I'm doing a bloody good job too."
What a cracking day that was.
Oh,
KG.
that was alongside the 64 grand final. 65, well, you couldn't move, 62,000 there.
That was amazing.
Amazing game. And the atmosphere, I couldn't hear myself, when I blew the whistle, I couldn't hear the whistle.
Yeah.
It was that much
People don't
noise.
think that, do they?
Oh,
On
no.
the ground.
And it was a cracking game.
Yeah, I can remember players, some of the obviously old players, when we had reunions and all that sort of thing, saying that it's the first time that they couldn't hear each other.
No.
Like,
On the ground.
"Here, Phil, here, Phil," or whatever,
Yeah.
and Phil would ignore you because Phil didn't hear you.
Right.
And it was just amazing.
Oh,
that
they were packed
from,
in.
From, me to KG away, that you wouldn't hear me go, give it, or whatever. And it was all day. It wasn't just for a quarter, it was the entire game.
Well, it was an
There
amazing
was people
finish.
sitting inside the fence.
There were an amazing game. They were gone at 3/4 time, Stuart.
Yeah.
And the late Emmy Jones, sadly passed,
Yeah.
kicked 5 goals.
It was an amazing day.
3-point ball game.
Incredible day.
Great game.
But that started an era for Sturt.
yeah.
They were a fantastic
They
team,
were,
weren't they?
yeah.
They were brilliant in the
Absolutely.
late 60s.
The handball
and
by Sturt in those
just
that era.
changed the game.
Oh,
It changed the game.
absolutely.
Port had the brawn and the strength and the toughness.
toughness.
And Sturt were highly skilled.
Yeah.
And so it was a clash of cultures. It was a clash, a massive clash.
I love talking about these days.
Well, they were great days.
It just brings back
in
wonderful
SA.
memories.
Let's talk about some of the stars that 5 decades, mate. There's been a few, and you've been innovative in getting it and keeping going. Rick Davies. When you hear Sturt, you always hear Rick Davies, and you've worked with Rick, you've umpired Rick, one of the great characters. Is there a funny story with Rick that, and I don't want to put zzz in your head.
Actually, I thought about that driving here, and I can't tell the stories, even though they're funny, because they're a bit over the fence.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
But I rang him the other day, and it's amazing. And when I first met Rick, he was so cool to me. It was terrible. He came down to play cricket, and I had the Angus Hotel, and they stayed there, and he hardly spoke with me. But in time, we became good mates. He worked with me at 5DN doing coaching clinics and so forth, and we're good mates. And I said to him about 6 weeks ago, I said, "Will you speak at my funeral?" Corsy's going to host it. And he said, "Yeah." And I rang him the other day. I said, "How you going?" He said, "I'm going okay, Kate. I'm going okay." He said, I reckon I've got about another hour's work to finish your eulogy. But I'll get it done, I promise you." I said, "Well, how come it's taking so long?" He said, "Because I've got so many things I want to say. But I'll finish it, Cage. I'll finish it."
Have you got a backup for Cornsey in case he goes before you?
Well, that's a good point. He's agreed to host it, so there you go.
Hey, mate, you and Cornsey have been together a long time.
30 years.
On Double A. Let's talk about Cornsey, the footballer. Was he one of the best?
Oh,
that
no
you saw?
doubt. No doubt. His performances for the Bay were amazing. And there's another side to Cornsey, Phil and Bazz, that I know. Because when we used to work at 5DN, we were back to back with desk, and you could hear each other's conversation. And the amount of times that Terry Lindblom would ring him and say, Cordy, I've got a speaking job for you. And Cordy would say, can I mention the player's name?
Go for it, mate.
He'd say, look, I'd hear him say it's $2,500. He still, look, give $1,000 to the PDO Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
They were good mates. And
PDO,
the amount of times that he did that for PDO was unbelievable. He's a very kind...
And people don't know that.
But people don't... And I didn't know that side of him either until I sat in the office and worked with him. And I've seen the other side of Cornsey. Wonderful football. You know, I didn't want... When I was working with David Hooks at AA, Hooksy went to Victoria, and David Whitman came to me and said... or David Whitman came to me and said, look, who do you want to work with? I said, look, David, that one jumps out. It might be at the end of the road. I've been doing it for umpteen years. I've had a terrific run. I don't want to do it just for doing it. Yeah. He came back 2 days later and he said, Graham Corns has put up his hand. I said, no, David, no, look, mate, it won't work. He's an intelligent man. He can speak on any subject. He's well read. He writes a great article. I said you'd have him on one side, you'd have a mumbling, stumbling, emotional dickhead on the other side, which is me. Oh. It's a recipe for disaster.
I had them mixed up then.
I said, no, David, it's not, it won't work. I'm not doing it, no. Yeah. Anyway, he came back to me a week later and said, I want you to do it for a month. If it doesn't work for the first survey, we'll can it. That was 30 years ago.
It's an amazing industry, isn't it? I remember when...
And I don't know, Bazz and Phil, why it's worked for so long.
I think it's the way you've been able to correct him when he gets his English wrong, Coach.
Yeah, right,
I think that's been the making of it, mate.
But it was you coming back to AA was when it was Ian Aitken and Hooksy.
Yeah, I know.
You remember that?
Well, that was there.
And I can remember... vividly, I can remember celebrating the best ever ratings period we ever had with Bones and Hooksy.
I know.
And and the big cigars up in the top room up there, everything's terrific. The next day I'm working at Adelaide Oval doing the Shield cricket and I get a call saying, hunt down K.G. and Hooksy because as of Monday, that's who you'll be working with. Mm-hmm. So even though the big ratings and all that, bang, gone. Well, but I remember that so well. But but they were unbelievable days at AA. And you got to feel this is unbelievable. You'd be interviewing a guy called Greg Norman, right? Mm-hmm. You got Greg Norman. There he is. We chased him for months and months and months and months and months, and finally got him. 5 minutes into that interview with Greg Norman, you got to stop him because they're racing at Dap Day. The dogs, because we were the TAB station as well.
You've got to stop the interview with Greg Norman.
Hang on a minute, Greg, they just jumped at that mate. We'll be back. Now, you can imagine the guy on the other end, Greg Norman, what?
You're kidding, aren't you?
But that was a regular thing, wasn't it?
Sensational.
It was just no matter who you're interviewing. But you just go, Phil, hang on a minute, mate. They've just jumped at Bendigo.
And I can see the number one golfer in the world going, no, let me hang on to that race. That'll be fine, Coach. Some of the big names that you've interviewed, though, Muhammad Ali comes to mind.
That's the biggest one. We chased him for decades and years and years.
Good to go again, guys. Sorry about that.
Mate, you've interviewed some unbelievable people. Muhammad Ali would have been one of the all-time big ones.
That was the biggest. We chased it for years, Smyth, and for whatever reason we didn't get him. But this particular, so we used to go into the studio at 5 dinner at bloody 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning because of the time difference. We didn't get him, and this last time we did. Andrew Pearce said to me, I've got a feeling we're going to get him today because I've just spoken to his minder and he seemed a lot warmer. Lo and behold, he said, he's coming. Yeah. Well, I froze. Muhammad Ali. I froze. And it went for 25 minutes. He was so giving of his time and he told the story how he went to this restaurant and he threw his medallion in the lake and did all those unbelievable stories, but he was, and when he passed, we played it. That was the highlight.
Didn't stop that one for the races.
No.
Just Greg Norman, Muhammad. No, not going to happen.
The one I chased was Sir Donald Bradman, but when they did the Bradman story with Gary Sweet,
Yes.
I wrote to him, Holden Street, and he wrote a letter back to me. I've still got it home, but framed it, saying that Ken, thank you for your interest in the story. He said, you'll have to understand, I won't contribute to the program because it's an entertaining program. Things have been stretched a little bit and inaccuracies are a part of it. And he said, I don't want to be seen to be endorsing that. He said, I hope you can understand, but look, thank you for your interest. Signed, the Don. I got it home.
It's an interesting story, Brad. I saw him getting interviewed once on the Ray Martin show, and he
was very good mates with Ray.
Yes, and the question was against the West Indies, who had Garner, Roberts, all the quicks at that time. Ray's question to him was, so Donald, how do you think you would go against the current West Indies? Because obviously, going back to the bouncing series and stuff like that. He said, I'd probably get about 92. Ray Martin said, what, not 100? He said, well, I am 86 now. So there was a side to Bradman where he had some humour, but mate, you had to carry a message at one time from Bradman to you to Ian Chappell.
I was there on the ground when it came out. That message came out.
Bradman's given you the call?
No, Yunus Ahmed.
Yes, but Bradman's called you first, has he?
Well, they've gone to Queensland to play.
You had a fitness test, I think.
No, they'd gone to Queensland, and I was injured. I didn't go, and I was due to join the side in Sydney.
That's
I
right.
was vice captain. Right. Ian and Greg were the co-selectors. I was vice captain, the third selector.
That's right.
I get a call from Huey Millard, the secretary of the SACA, on the Tuesday before I fly out to say, Sir Donald Bradman wants to talk to you, Ken. I thought, God, what have I done here? Because you don't talk, I was always told, you only talk to Bradman if he talks to you first. Yeah. I've gone there and he was sitting in his grey suit, tie and the clock, and he was very amicable. He said, Ken, look, we haven't started the stateside. There's rumours coming out from Queensland that they're about to make Yunus Ahmed, who was from Pakistan. He was our visiting international, like a Barry Richards or Sagar Fusabas. Yeah. Under no circumstances are we to leave him out of the side in Sydney. It would hurt our relationship with the Pakistan Cricket Board. He said, I've spoken to the manager of the team, but just reinforced it as the third selector. I'm going to Sydney, didn't think more about it. Friday morning of the game, Ian was captain, and he's called me, KG, Greg, and he's walked out to the middle of the Sydney cricket ground.
We were out there.
And he leant on the roller, and he said to Greg first, the toss. Greg said bat, and I said bat. And he said, okay, who's 12th? Because, I'll never forget it. He said to Greg, who's 12th man? And Greg said, that's so-and-so.
Yeah.
Ahmed. And I said, whoa, no. I've got a message. I met with Bradman before he came here in the SACA office. Under no circumstances are we to make him 12th man. Ian said, the so-and-so is 12th man. I said, Ian, for goodness sake, don't do it. And he's turned and done a U-turn on the Sydney cricket ground and started to walk off. He said he's 12th man. Yeah. He's 12th man. He did this and Brisbane did that and wherever. Yeah. I said, Ian, for goodness sake, don't do it. He's walked into the room in the Sydney and Yunus Ahmed's in the corner in his gear. He's walked up to Yunus Ahmed, and as captain, when you tell a man he's 12th man, as you will know, you put your hand on his shoulder and say, look, bad luck today, son, you're 12th. He's walked up to Yunus Ahmed and said, you're so-and-so 12th today, and kept walking. Well, Yunus Ahmed's gone one way and Ian's gone the other.
Yeah, I remember it well.
And then...
Hit the fan, didn't it?
Hit the fan!
But in fairness, Yunus wasn't a good team man. So Chappelli had made the right call. 100%.
He'd made the right call, but when the message comes from Bradman,
you've got to have some courage to say you're going the other way.
You've got to change the bloody call.
I'll give you some idea about Ahmed. In Perth, we've got Dennis Illy bowling at one end and bowling 5,000 miles an hour.
Which he could do.
Bouncing the absolute crap out of you, right? And I'm batting there, and I've got Yunus up there. Yunus come up to me when I came out to bat, and he goes, now, you take him. Right?
Well, he's not a dill.
And I'm thinking, hang on,
Had a few brains.
this is my 5th game. This guy's a test player, or supposed to be a Pakistani test player.
He was.
He goes, you take him, you understand? You take him and I'll take the other man up the other end.
Ball and half wrap out.
Well, that's very big of you, mate. That's
Appreciate
terrific.
your support.
Yeah, that's terrific. But when I came off the ground, Ian wanted to know what the conversation was. And when I told him, he went, what? So he didn't like him. He didn't like him one bit, did he?
He didn't want him from day one.
Well, he was on $1 a run. He got picked up for vagrancy. He couldn't bat his way out. He was frightened. He was frightened.
$1 a run, $1 a wicket. He wanted to bowl everybody over. He wanted to bat every second.
But he seriously wasn't. He was
a nice man.
Frightened of our pace men.
Mate, I don't blame him for being frightened of
Well,
the
that's right. We all weren't. I mean,
No helmets then either, by the way.
No helmet.
No.
well, I had a Women's Weekly as a thigh pad. It wasn't the.
had a felt cap on your
Yeah,
head.
the little red cap. That's right. And I remember we were talking about that facing Tomo in Queensland.
Oh, the hell!
And on a
God.
green top, and I've got to open. I walked through the gate with Ashley Woodcock, and Ashley's opened up about 80 times or something, and this is about my 2nd time opening the batting, and I walked through the gate and I said to him, "You got it, mate?" He goes, "Oh no, I don't."
No, I don't do, Tom, mate.
And up the other end he went. But about the 3rd ball, I did that, and it actually clipped my hair. I'm going to say now, good shot.
Yeah.
But back then I had the long hair going, and I felt the ball just clip my hair, and I thought to myself then, and KG will know this, $6 a day I'm getting for this. I could die here. I could die on this.
Now you wonder why I was sitting in the grandstand saying, "Gee, this bloke looks quick."
Because he is.
Because he is. That's why I didn't want to get out there.
Okay, so then it'll be quicker when you get out there.
But the funny thing about it was, you get clipped, and then you hear nothing for a second or whatever, then you hear,
Cut.
whoa! Well, that's the ball hitting the gloves, and you turn around, you look at their set and you think, gee, Queensland picked a little team today. They're only little blokes, they're about this big, just another 40 miles away. But Eunice was dead set right, and that was it. Full stop.
He was a nice bloke.
Hey, mate, you talked about Cornsey, the softer side of Cornsey that people don't see. I'm a massive Ian Chappell fan. I know him well, not as well as I'd like to, but I've always found him to be such a giving bloke and such a really good person to be around. He's funny, good sense of humour. I really like him. I like his leadership style, yet he's often seen as that hard, confronting, don't get in his way. Is he misjudged a little bit as well?
It probably is in some areas, but the thing that I loved about Chappelle was his honesty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was no fool.
Yeah.
He knew if you were being genuine with the conversation with him. Yeah. Otherwise, he'd say to you, no, don't come that with me. Yeah. I know what's happening out there. I can see for myself. And he was brutally honest. He wouldn't soft pedal at any stage. No. But if he knew you were giving and trying and doing your best, he would support you 200%.
He was a great captain's man.
He was a fantastic captain's man. Yeah. I still say, and I say this very respectfully, that the best captain that I ever played under was Les Famel. Yeah. He went out of his way to really help me. Why I don't know. He was
taught Ian a lot.
He did. Yeah. He taught a lot of people a lot.
Yeah. One thing I liked about Ian, mate, was that he would say, when we're in the field today, when we walk through that gate, I'm the captain of South Australia and I'm also the captain of Australia. But when we walk through that gate, there's 11 captains. If you can see something out there that you think will help us get rid of him, then let me know. I don't have to use it, but hey, I might use it. A bit
of feedback.
So you've got to be a captain out there yourself, regardless whether you play one game
you're part of the team.
And that's what I liked about him.
It's a great part of leadership, isn't it?
Well, he was like that. He made you feel, when you're on the ground, that you wanted to do everything for him.
Correct.
Absolutely everything for him. So you were on the ball all day under Chappelle.
Phil, you would love him.
To play under him. Yeah. To play, but
it was an absolute honour to play under him.
But he was a menace, mate. He was just a menace when you're batting with him. He was a menace.
Wouldn't shut up.
He's got Alan Hurst, who's very quick from Victoria, bowling 1,000,000 miles an hour with a new ball. I'm up the other end, and as he is running into bowl, Ian Chappell is yelling out to him, "Come on, bounce me, you dickhead! Come on, bounce me, bounce me!" And I'm going, "Ian, hey, calm down, mate. When I get up there, you're going to kill me." But that's what he was like. He was just so. But in saying that, if you did a poll amongst all the cricketers around the country at the time, Ian Chappell was their number one.
Yeah.
But every crowd booed him, didn't they?
Yeah.
They just booed him. Yeah. They booed him everywhere. But he was a pest. One day on the MCG, he for some reason, he's not in the gully. He's not in at his first slip. He's just there at a short gully. And the batsman has run the ball off the face of the bat, just down in there. And he reached over to grab it and fumbled it and all that. And the crowd went, because he fumbled the ball. Yeah. Every single ball that was hit to him after that, he fumbled.
I could see him.
That's what he was like.
Oh, it was.
He was a pest.
I don't know if you can confirm this story or not, Cage, but there was a story, obviously, World Series cricket's starting up, and Ian has to go and meet Kerry Packer. They're in the early stages of talking about the Australian team and stuff, and Packer says to Ian, "You'll be captain of the Australian team." And Ian said, "Well, Greg's the current captain of the Australian team." He said, "I don't know whether I'll go and talk to Greg about that." Mm. And we're just talking about how honest and forthright Ian is now sitting in front of the great Kerry Packer.
He said that to him.
He said, let's be clear on this. I'm not asking you to negotiate it. I'm telling you that you'll be the captain and Greg will be vice captain. Yeah. True story?
True story. Yeah.
There wouldn't be too many people that could tell Ian what he was going to do, though, would there?
The true story, he's told it many times that Packer said, "I'll pick the captain. Yeah. He's vice captain, you're captain."
Yeah. This isn't a negotiation.
That's it.
Hey, mate, we can go on forever. I want to get through a couple of these, mate. Best 2 or 3 cricketers you ever saw or played with. Have you got a top 3?
Oh, the man that stands head and shoulders above any of them is Sir Garfield Sobers. Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. He was, and I say this respectfully, Phil, he was a freak. He'd come on, open the bowling left arm quick and swing the crap out of it and bowl quick. Yeah. He'd come on first change and bowl left arm orthodox. He'd come on second change and bowl left arm googly. Yeah. Then he'd go there with the bat and smash the crap out of them. Yeah. Then one day in Perth when Barry Jarman hurt his finger, he took the gloves and he would have sworn black and blue that he'd been keeping cricket all his life. He was the one player that I'll never ever forget.
Head and shoulders.
Just to be in the same change room. I can remember in '63 when he came over, and we're batting. He went at number 4. I mean, I went at number 5 or 6. I remember walking down the steps onto the ground, going out in the middle, and I'm taking guard from Colony guard, Mark my guard there. I look up, and there's Sir Garfield Sobers at the non-strikers end, and I said to myself, "What in the hell am I doing out here?" That's Sir Garfield Sobers. I'm the boy from the West End who can barely get the bat out of the bloody blocking hole. And but he was such a great bloke too. Yeah, great bloke. We had some of the best parties.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Easy now. This is recording.
I used to make this magical punch.
Yeah.
When I say they did,
the Sobey punch.
That was
the Sobey punch.
Sobey punch. That was made by some lovely ladies. The Sobey punch. It had more than bloody punch in it, but they were good parties.
Yeah.
I just got one with Sir Garfield against Victoria on the Adelaide Oval one day. It was he was 97, not out, and they did not want him to get his 100 before the tea break. Yeah. They wanted him to go in, sweat, come back out again as if he would sweat, or get another 100. But they stacked the offside field, and Alan Connolly was told to bowl a foot outside off stump, every ball. So he can't get through because they've got one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, and in gaps so that if one misses, the other one will get it, whatever. So he's let every ball go until the last ball before tea. And if you saw this, and I wish there would still be footage somewhere, but he played a cut shot off the back foot off this ball, where he just went whack, and he hit it just wide of that guy, spinning away that way, so that the second guy didn't get it, and the third guy, there were 3 men laying on the ground when that ball hit the pickets for his 100. It was the most... I was there as a cricketer, looking at that and just in absolute awe. And I don't get in awe of too many things, but that day I got, wow, that is just unbelievable how he did that. Because you would have to, that is so pinpoint accurate, what he did with that ball. You would give me 100 shots at doing that.
And you wouldn't do it.
And you might get one, but odds are no. He did it. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He was a freak.
So we'll say
There'll never
Sobers?
be another cigar.
No, there won't be another.
So Cigarfield Sobers is your number 1.
Yeah.
Have you got a 2 or 3?
That I've seen and
Or played with? Either one.
Shane Warne, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Shane Warne.
Too, yeah.
What he was able to do with the control that he had, Smyth, it was as a kid I tried to bowl leg breaks and I knew how hard it was. But his control and his ability to read the batsman, how to get him out, it was freakish. And you'll never see another Shane Warne. Never, ever. As long as the game is being played.
I agree.
We'll see leg spinners, but not to the calibre. He comes along once in a lifetime, Shane Warne.
Number 3?
Number 3, that I've seen, probably Sachin Tendulkar.
Oh.
Sachin Tendulkar.
It's a powerful 3, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Greg Chappell's up there. Greg was an artist at it.
Superb player.
It was elegant. He was an artist. Ian was. Here's the one you go into the trenches with. There's some wonderful players. Neil Hawke, wonderful cricketer. Not the most stylish, not the most organised guy, but fantastic.
Brilliant all-rounder.
Last one on cricket, then we'll move to footy. The baggy green, playing in New Zealand, mate. You get the baggy green.
Yeah.
And you touched on it. Share the story where your baggy green is now and getting the baggy green, mate. And try not to get emotional.
That's one of the. Well, I will.
I know.
That's one of the biggest and greatest moments of my life. We're going to Sydney and being handed a baggy green, because as long as I can remember, that was the one that everybody dreams about, that plays cricket.
Who handed it to you? Okay, sorry.
Well, it was handed to me by Les Phil, the captain. But then when I wore it, I never ever wore a cap when I played, except in New Zealand '66. I wore the baggy green every day. And when I came back, and Dad passed away 2 weeks for his 60th, I buried it with him. And because I wouldn't have got that without Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the days living at Braveville, and we were the first family to live at the housing commission area at Braveville. The tank stand was in the backyard. Dad would mark the wicket in chalk. He'd take a pail off the back fence and get the saw and make it a bat, and he'd throw the softball to me every night of the week. And he was there every day of the Shield match. He was there every day I umpired as a trainer. Yeah. And that's a moment I'll cherish.
It's almost sad now, isn't it, that we don't hear those stories anymore about, because one-day cricket, and you used to, Mum would talk about having the radio on and everyone would be listening to the radio.
Lay on the floor.
Yeah, and you couldn't, there was nothing else.
No.
Everyone listened. Now there's that much now, people go, not listening now, don't care.
No.
Let's go to footy, mate. Yep. Over 130 games, 4 grand finals, you've seen a lot. And eras are hard to compare.
Yep.
So we'll try and be aware of that.
Yeah.
Just in the SANFL, we'll get to the AFL in a minute. Yep. Best 3 players you ever saw.
In the SANFL.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty easy to say. Blighty, Robin 1. Blighty 2, Ebert 3.
Yep.
There's a few good players.
Look at that group to start your team with. It'll be all right.
Some wonderful players, though.
Toughest footballer.
Neil Curley.
We miss the Curls, don't we? Miss his company, mate. Yeah, he's a good man. Fellow worker.
A beautiful man.
Yep.
Loved him.
In the AFL world now, it's different. Things are different. Have you got a top 3 players you've seen in the AFL Not counting Robin, Ebert,
No,
and Blight.
top three in the AFL. Gee, that's a good question. Well, Witten's up there. I'm a bit biased towards Teddy Witten. Who else would there be? Judd would have to be up there high.
What a player!
What a player he was.
Saw his first game
Did you?
at Football Park.
He was sensational.
Unbelievable.
I probably missed one here, and
There's been a few good ones, guys. You know,
Just off the top of your head,
it's not an easy thing to pick
it's
three.
you
hard.
could probably name 20.
you could name 20 of
You
them.
know,
Yeah.
because you see, I put blokes like McLeod and
Well,
you
the
know,
crowd's up there.
you know, he'd be up there. I love Andrew McLeod. He was
Ablett Jr.,
Ablett,
Dusty
Ablett
Martin.
Jr.
Oh, that game by Ablett Senior when he kicked 9 goals and they got beat.
89.
89. Was
One of the great grand
he's
final.
up there, Ablett.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, we kick anyone who can kick 14 from a wing can play a bit.
Did you have a couple of favourite sports people? Like sports people, not necessarily, obviously, Sir Garfield Sobers is the epitome of
He is
everything.
the epitome.
Yep.
Curls.
Yep.
See, I love curls.
Yep.
And again, I'm biased because I came from a period where he made life tough for me as a player. He was a hard umpire. But you could reason with him. And then, later on in life, he came and worked with me at 5DN on a Monday night.
Yeah.
And then just his relationship with it. Curls was a person, Smythy, that I never ever saw him depressed. I never saw him in a negative manner. His body language was always positive, even when Donald died, even when his daughter died. He was sad,
Yes.
but there was always another side to Neil Curley.
Great man.
Great man. If I had a problem, I could go to Curls, as probably I think you did, Smythe.
Yep.
Sit down and say over a cup of coffee, fellow worker,
Yeah.
how should I handle this, Curls? And he'd say, well, if you want my advice, son, this is what I'd do.
Yep. You got me? Curls here. What do you want? I'm fishing.
Exactly. Russell Ebert was a good man.
Up there.
Oh, no
absolutely.
doubt. Russell Ebert, the way...
I miss
that-
Russ.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. Every Monday morning.
What
I
he
went
went
down
through
my
and the
little
way
time.
he went through it was just quite remarkable.
Well, it was terrible.
Yeah,
Bloody
but see, again, I've been blessed that I've seen these players. I've been a part of their life, just watching them. And, I just say, thanks God for letting me be born in South Australia, and thank you God for letting me do the things I was lucky enough to do.
And you did some wonderful things,
Well,
Coach.
not really, Baz.
Yes, you did, mate.
No, I haven't.
You're the greatest underseller.
No. I know where I came from.
Yeah.
I came from the West End of Adelaide.
Yeah.
My area was Whitmore Square. I kicked the footy and until I moved to Braveville.
Yeah.
I knew my capabilities as a cricketer. I was limited by, as you will know, Mike, when you play with wonderful players in a team, they just drag you along.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have played 97 first-class games if it wasn't. I had the chance to play with Ian, Greg Chappell, Neil Hawke, Les Fab, all those players. They just dragged me along. And I've just been... If I was to come back again, I want to do exactly the same things that I've been lucky enough to do.
Just make a note about that, mate. You can get dragged along to a baggy green cat. You can
Yeah.
get dragged along.
Dragged
And you can get dragged along into the South Australian Sports Hall of
You know-
Fame. What a dragon, mate.
Well, the one thing that I go to bed and I just say thank you very much, and that is that to have the media centre carry my name.
Yeah, it does. For a reason, mate.
Well, not so much that, but you shouldn't get rewarded the way I've been rewarded for doing something you love. And mate, I've had the best life and the best job, God. But I couldn't talk at 12. I started, and then to be nearly 50 years in the media.
You only get rewarded if you're really good at it.
Well, but you got to be given the chance, Smithy.
Oh, there's a lot of journalists that have been rewarded with their name on toilets, mate. On the back of the doors. I haven't seen yours. You know, so yours is the media room, not the lavatory, mate.
Find your obsession, make it your profession. You'll never work a day in your life. There's an old saying by somebody, I don't know who it was, but you're a classic case.
No, but to think that, you know, the only thing that disappointed me about that was that Mum and Dad never saw it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because they did it.
Yeah.
You know.
What makes you think they haven't?
Well, that's a good point.
They might have. We don't know. We don't know what's out there,
I
mate.
hope they have, but that's...
You're going to be in for a hiding when you get to them.
That's a huge honour for me.
Your mum's waiting for you, mate.
When we thought about who we should have a chat to at our very first podcast, your name came up straight away to me.
No.
Because you're an iconic South Australian. You're an amazing South Australian.
I'm a very lucky South Australian, Barry.
Well, yeah, well, okay. Yeah, like I say, you're the greatest
I
underseller
thank God I was born here.
history of the world.
This is the best place in the world to live.
There's not a lot
I haven't travelled the world, but if there's a better place, I haven't seen it, and I don't want to see it.
Just not sure about the Ashes on Adelaide Oval.
Well, that's another highlight.
Yep.
You know, Ashes spent on the Adelaide Oval. There's a race going on between myself and Les Burdett, who'll be the last bloke. So if I die before Les, Les will be the last bloke that Ashes are spread. There's only two of us do it. Or if he go, it'll be me. Yeah. So that's another honour.
Well, mate, you're looking fit and well. I can't see any reason why you'd be going. So that eulogy from Rick, he'd still be right.
Well, yeah, actually, that's another highlight.
If
you're waiting for the eulogy, it might be another decade, mate.
That's right.
But there'll be no soft pedaling. Nah. It'll be warts and all.
Well, if I'm around, I'll be there, Coach.
Warts and all.
I'll be glad that Povey Sand's not around my late wife.
Hey, mate, just in closing, if health could go for a long time. Let's assume it does. Yep. Can you see yourself going into the 6th decade in media, mate?
No,
I mean, you said you couldn't see yourself going 1, and you're now 5, and Double A Saturday morning still the most listened to sports show.
No, I reckon one more year, Phil and Bazz. Yeah. Look, I love it, and for me that'll be 50 years. You know, to achieve that. You know,
amazing.
When I said it wouldn't last 5 minutes when I got the job.
Well, I'm glad you did, mate.
Well, no, it's been a wonderful journey, an unbelievable journey. I just hope my grandkids, you know, can get something out of it.
They know, mate.
I'm sure they will, mate. We've run out of time.
They know, mate. They know. They're all
we'll have to get you back because we haven't even touched on all the good stories.
Right. And I tell you what, there are some good stories.
There are some good ones. Well, you'll be back. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The Jumbo Prince. Mate, I was good to you, Rico.
Yeah.
I was good to you.
KG, our special guest.